Heyo everybody, Haku here, bringing back anime reviews to the channel with Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1. I'm gonna try to keep the intro short, but it's probably not going to be. I really loved this. The video as a whole probably isn't going to be short, because I'm just going to be gushing over this and giving my thoughts. I've been obsessed with this. I think it's been very, very good. I asked a while ago if people thought that I should read or if I should watch first, and I'm so glad that I watched first, because I kind of feel like I like anime more when I watch the anime first, because I feel like when I read the manga first, then I'm kind of critical when I do get to the anime, like, I wish that was adapted differently. I tend to be a manga Andy, so glad that I actually watched first. I love the characters so very much. The production value is incredible, but I love the characters so much that I feel like talking about them in detail would make this video way too long. So I'm going to do a second video on the characters where I talk about all of the characters in detail. So that video will be literally my next one after this. I'm going to record it right after recording this, I hope. So either way, yeah, let's get to talking about the series. I mentioned loving the production quality, loving the characters and everything. I think that one of the strengths that it has is that it has an incredible pace. It's just blistering, like running through things. It feels like within 24 episodes, we got the amount of content that it would take us 100, 200 to get to in some other long-running shonen. I think that's a Jump thing at this point, though, where Jump just doesn't have patience with its series anymore. You got to be going, or they are going to axe you. So that, is potentially why. Another great strength I think it has, though, is that it doesn't over-explain things. In so many things I watch, and even this, there's a mechanic. There's a mechanic in the powers here that if you explain your powers, they get more powerful. And even then, I feel like we get explained less than other shonen and stuff, less than other battle shonen. And I like that. Like, there's this one, I think the perfect thing to describe what I'm talking about is there's when Mai and Maki are fighting later in the season, there's just this part where they're scrapping with each other, and that happens so much where characters are just fighting. They're just like scrapping with each other, and Mai throws a handful of sand at her and then keeps fighting. And I just feel like in other anime and other shonen and stuff, we would have had like 20 reaction shots. She's fighting dirty. She's throwing sand. She's trying to block my vision. And like, instead, they just keep fighting. They don't say anything about it. It's just a part of the choreography. And I love that so much. They don't just sit and over-explain every single thing that characters are thinking, every single thing that characters are doing. They just let it happen and assume that you're smart enough to figure it out on your own. I very, very much like that. Any sort of knowledge that I had coming into this, though, before I get into it, like arc by arc, going into this, I had only heard a couple names before. Again, I am deep into like anime and manga stuff, so it's been impossible to not hear names like Gojo or Sukuna. So I had heard names before. Some surprised me. I saw Megami episode 1 and I was like, oh, this guy is gonna be some random bland background guy that gets killed off pretty much immediately. And then I learned that he's like one of the most popular characters in the series, and I'm like, I didn't expect that he's like a main character. I thought he was just a boring nobody with a boring nobody design that was gonna get killed off early on. I did not expect him to actually be an important character. So that's how little I knew going in. And also, by the way, to like sort of preface this, I have only watched season 1 at the time of doing this video. I'm doing season 1 now. I've been holding off on watching the movie. After I do this, and of course the character video right after this, I'm gonna go watch the movie, then I'll do a video on the movie. Season 2 though, what I've been doing is I watched 50 anime for 2022. I'm going to do a big video on that. But now I'm watching stuff that I've wanted to watch for a while that I didn't have a chance to. I'll link my Annie list in the comments below and you can see what I'm watching right now. I've got some other stuff like Vinland Saga or gosh, or Tokyo Revengers, stuff like that I'm watching right now, and I'll do reviews on all of those like I'm doing for this when I finish them. That's the plan right now, and then once I finish all of that, what's on my plate now, I'm going to do 2023 stuff, and I'll watch Season 2 and do a video on Season 2 when I do my 2023 stuff. So there's going to be a little bit of a wait before I watch Season 2. But I'm fine with that. It gives me time to, like, just stew in the hype and, like, wait for it. So I'm totally happy with that. But with all that out of the way, typical long intro for me, let's get into actually talking about the series bit by bit, part by part. I feel like I really don't have too much to say for, like, the intro arc, episodes 1 through 3. I did think it was a very, very fun. I thought, like I mentioned before, I thought Megami was going to be boring at first. This and the season as a whole got me thinking up theories, two in specific, that I'll save for the end of the video to talk about those theories. Probably wrong. Don't spoil me if I'm right or wrong, but I'll put those at the end. Also, I probably should have mentioned it in the intro, but usually for my reviews, I try to keep things spoiler-free so that people who are just coming in looking for a recommendation or something can see my video and then go watch. But for this, you should probably watch Jujutsu Kaisen first. I'm just going to talk about what happens because I feel like this is a popular enough series that most of you have probably already seen it before I did. So I'm just going to assume that you all have already watched and talk as if I'm assuming my audience has already watched. But yeah. Another thing that I didn't mention in the intro that I had heard of before coming into this, people always praise the female characters. Say the female characters in Jujutsu Kaisen are so well done. And I partially agree, partially disagree. I guess I will disagree on the part of Kugisaki, and I hope that doesn't piss too many people off. And I hope Kugisaki Nobara, hope I'm not getting her name wrong. She is, like she made a joke about, the female member of the group. She is a pretty generic, ordinary female member of the group. I think she definitely clears, like, Sakura. That's a very low bar. But even the low bar of Uraraka from My Hero Academia, who's another low bar, to be fair. I don't think, again, we'll see how she develops in the future of the series, but at least if I'm taking first 24 episodes of Hero Academia where, to be honest, much less happens than the first 24 episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen. If I'm just judging 24 episodes by 24 episodes, I don't think she even clears the Uraraka bar in terms of character development. One thing that I do think is good about her, though, and where I think the female characters in Jujutsu Kaisen really shine, is that just like the male characters, they are both taken seriously. In terms of a fight, the female characters are taken seriously, but also what I think is even more important than them being taken seriously, all of the powerful characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, when it comes to the villains, when it comes to Gojo, they all have comedy gags. They all have silly moments. And a lot of the time, when you have female characters and they're trying to make them strong or badass, it's like they have to be serious all the time. And I love that the female characters in Jujutsu Kaisen are allowed to be just as funny, just as goofy, just as silly as the guy characters. And I think the fact that they are so goofy and silly, and Nobara is like got so many good comedy gags, her voice acting's incredible. The voice acting in the series in general is incredible. I think that her being able to be a comedic character helps her and the other characters to be taken more seriously, because the characters who are taken seriously in Jujutsu Kaisen are the funny ones. There are like serious, important plot things in Jujutsu Kaisen that just end up like, haha, like a joke comedy gag. So I think that does help them. But yeah, we basically just get introduced to our main characters in the intro bit, and that's pretty much all we get. Next, we have like episodes 4 through 7, 4 through 8, which is like the Juvie arc, the training, the introduction of Todo and Mai, that kind of stuff. Wow, that was a really weird breath my throat just did. But ignoring that and moving on, I thought the Juvie Center arc was really, really good. The Megami development went hard. Again, Megami going from episode 4 to episode 5 completely changed my perspective on the character. Plus, it does a really good job. Again, Kugisaki's very much the third wheel, very much the, oh, she gets taken out early and doesn't really do much. But the series establishes really core character traits for Megami. His, I save who I want to save, and also him saying, other people are saving who they want to save, and what he says to Yuji about, what if I save somebody and they kill somebody later on, or what if somebody you save kills somebody later on, but he saved Yuji, and yet because Yuji's alive, other people are going to die. It's like, it establishes all of that for Megami, and also his potential trying to, off himself in order to take down the enemy, sacrifice himself, instead of like trying to fight his hardest, holding himself back mentally. In addition, it really sets up a lot of Yuji's core stuff, even more than what was already established in the first 3 episodes. It does a really good job with both of them. I love Sukuna's character. To me, this might delve into a little bit of theory territory. I feel like Sukuna seems like the kind of character who is a tragic character. I don't know if that means like, just because they're tragic doesn't mean they're going to be like redeemed or anything. Sukuna might just still be straight up evil, but I feel like Sukuna's probably going to have a really, like, they're this curse user who was so powerful that they basically became a cursed god or whatever and passed down their soul for hundreds of years, like over 1,000 years. It gives me the vibes that like we have that perception of Sukuna, but Sukuna's probably like, had a really, really rough past in order to get to that point. I feel like we're going to have some sort of like really sad flashback that changes our perspective, even if Sukuna does still remain evil. But the fights here were very, very good. Some of the stuff they set up for the overall lore was very good. Moving into like episode 6 and 7 with the training, I like the stuff about how like a lot of your powers in this world are set in stone. Only like 20% is based on training, like 80% is based on you're just born with it. I think that stuff like that makes the world pretty unique. The explanations of domain expansion are really cool, and how we learn later on that it's like, okay, they're vulnerable from outside because they're made really strong to keep things inside, and also because you don't want to break inside, but that comes later. Jogo, I love Jogo. Jogo's goofy ass. His voice, I love his voice actor. I'm going to keep gushing over the voice acting in this. I love his voice, his silly faces that he makes. He's so goofy. I love Jogo. And then Gojo, of course, is very fun. I like that Gojo is a fun, jokey character. That helps a lot. I find myself finding it harder to care about Gojo than a lot of others just because he is so strong that it's like, he's so strong that the conflicts with him don't seem as strong so far, but I feel like that can be worked on in the future. And also, the series does a very good job of not just pushing the push Gojo button to win button. It does a good job of avoiding that so far. And I feel like with all the talk about them sealing Gojo in the future, like that's something that the villains could succeed at. Gojo could sacrifice himself at some point even and take that option off the table, and it actually makes it really good in the early game, because it's like in the early game, if the heroes are ever like really, really in trouble, it's like the push Gojo button to win option exists to a certain extent. Like there are obviously times when he couldn't have saved them if something happened and they had to save themselves, but the push Gojo button to win exists if things got really, really bad overall. So having that in the early game makes the stakes and the tension go up dramatically if we take that away later in the story. So having that here in the early story probably actually helps a lot because of that. We get the introduction of Todo and Mai. Todo, I think, is possibly the best character. He's amazing. I love him. And I think that Mai and Maki's story is one of the best stories that they tell, but we get more into that later on. Also, I think I forgot to mention earlier, but I think that Juju Sampo adds so much to the series. Just the funny skits at the end add a lot to the characters. And one thing I like, whether in Juju Sampo or not, one thing I absolutely love about the villains in this, and why they might be one of my favorite villain groups ever, is because villain groups are always scheming. You got the Akatsuki in this dark, dank room with the creepy statue standing on its fingers. You got, like, the League of Villains in some, like, dingy rooms plotting stuff. You always have these villain groups just plotting in the dark, and yet you look at the villains in Jujutsu Kaisen and they're just big chillin'. They're just hanging out on the beach. They're playing Life later on. They're like, the first time we see them, Geto was just taking his spirit friends to a family restaurant. Like, they are big chillin'. I love the villains just because, and again, like I said, they have fun with the villains. Like, they're taken seriously, but also Jogo's goofy as hell. They all get in on the Juju Sampo stuff. Mahito is like childish and hilarious. Like, I love the villains. But next we get like 9 through 13-ish. Yeah, like 9 through 13, where we get the Junpei Mahito arc. The one thing I love is the basic joke, the joke of Junpei's death, where as he's dying, he's like, Mahito's not a bad person, and he's like, wait, Mahito, bad person, and like, I know, like, it's like Warui Hito is simple bad person, but like Ma is like, even though the Ma and Mahito is written with the character for true, like true human, Ma also is the word for like demonic type of evil. So like Mahito is like demonic person. He's like, Mahito's not a Warui Hito. Wait, Mahito, and then dead. I love that little joke of it. Like, it's such a sad moment, of course, but like the joke there is also great. Mahito is probably, between Todo and Mahito, are my favorite characters. Mahito is so fun. I heard that the mangaka for this and Horikoshi are really close friends, and like, Mahito has a lot of Shigaraki vibes in the design and everything. You got the hands everywhere, the sort of hair and skin, very, very Shigaraki-like. So I wonder if that influenced his design whatsoever, but I love Mahito. Junpei was also a very, very good character, and I respect the decision extremely to write him out of the story. Whether killing him off or not, I just see so many long-running series, especially as a Tower of God fan. Most of what I do on YouTube is Tower of God. I've seen so many instances where you get arc characters, the arc characters survive, sometimes they come along with the main character, and then they pretty much do nothing for the rest of the series. So for me, it's like, take Junpei. You have him, and if you don't have plans for him to do important stuff later on, maybe it's better to just kill him off. Because A, that raises the stakes. Oh crap, we're killing off characters like this. B, it provides an emotional moment. And yeah, C, he's just not a wasted spot on the cast if you just say, yeah, I don't have concrete plans for him, so let's just kill him off here. So I did enjoy that. All of the Nanami fights were incredible. Nanami is also one of my absolute favorite characters. Nanami is so good. The Nanami flashback and the philosophy and everything is really brilliant. The philosophy in this arc is very good too. You have Mahito's nihilism, which almost feels forced sometimes. Not forced as in the writing, forced as in Mahito's almost forcing himself to think this way. Like later on when he's like, I wonder if I should have just given, this is in episode 14, where he's like, I wonder if I should have just given Junpei a, fatal wound so that then Sukuna would have healed him. And like, a part of that, maybe it is just him trying to get Sukuna to take over Yuji, but there's also a part of it that almost seemed like, because he did have fun talking to Junpei, even though he does kill all these humans, there was almost a tinge of like, he was like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have killed Junpei. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not having the best read on that. But it almost seemed like he was like, damn, I really killed this guy that was fun to talk to. But yeah, his nihilism, where he's like, I can look at the soul. I'm not like humans who have like emotions and everything clouding my judgment. I can look at the soul, and to me, it's just like rocks. Just like dust on the ground. Like, it's all scientific from the way he's looking at it. It's all logical. So he's like, just like you would like eat when you're hungry. Just kill somebody if you want to kill them. What does it matter? People, like, souls are just things. So from his, like, he is a character who has a different perspective than any other character in the series because of stuff like that. And then the stuff that Yuji talked about with Junpei, where Yuji's like, I don't want to kill people because if I kill somebody, then that option becomes a possibility. When I'm in a situation, I get the possibility of, you know, I guess I have to kill this person. And then if I start killing people when I disagree with them or don't like them or feel I need to, then what about the people who I like, but other people feel a need to kill them? And it's like, where does the line get drawn between how important life is when you start killing? And then they go even further into that later on, but I digress. All of that was very, very good. Is there anything else for this section that I'm forgetting here? Oh yeah, one more thing. This is, again, getting a little bit into the future with episode 14. I liked Jogo as well, talking about the philosophy of the characters more, where Jogo finds out that, like, hey, you might die if we seal away Gojo and everything, and try to do all of this, go to war with the humans. And he's like, you know, it's fine if I die, so long as curses are people. So long as the curses take over, they're the new humans, they're people, then I'm cool with me not being there to see that day as long as that day comes, which is an interesting sentiment too. But yeah, let's jump into the next section. Then there's like episode 14 where there's kind of a little bit of epilogue of the previous stuff, but going from there through 17 before Hanami shows up at the exchange, we have the exchange event. The Todo and Yuji training, I think, is incredibly good. I love the relationship. Todo, again, is like one of the best characters. He's a genius. He's amazing. I love him. All of their training and everything there, I think, is very good. I love that stuff. And then we have a lot of the fights here. I like Panda. I like his backstory. Mekamaru's great. I love Mekamaru. Just the name Ultimate Mekamaru is hilarious. Plus, he's the meme. I was born with glass bones and paper skin. Every morning I break my legs, and every evening I break my arms. And I lie awake at night in bed in agony until the heart attacks put me to sleep. Don't know if I got all that right, but just from memory, he's like that scene from SpongeBob. I love it. Mekamaru's hilarious. We have Mai versus Maki, which I think their backstory is amazing. The Kugisaki and, Momo Nishimiya, their fight was really, really, really good. I had Momo in my notes when I was taking notes watching and everything as Dump Truck Witch, because of that one shot. Like, wow. And I saw artwork of her from the game. I guess there's like mobile game gacha probably that also was like Dump Truck Witch. I thought their fight and stuff was good too. I thought that all of the characters here, it was good. They all had a point. I kind of feel like Nobita's whole... Gosh, it's so tough because there's something I love about Nobita here, but it isn't really consistent, where she's like, I don't care about man or woman sorcerer. I like myself when I'm being strong. I like myself when I'm being pretty. I'm Kugisaki Nobita. Like, she isn't letting being a woman define her. She's letting being herself. She's letting Kugisaki Nobita define her. But then a lot of her character is the stereotypical angry punch the male lead, generic Sakura, Nami, even though Nami is a lot more complex than these other characters I'm bringing up, female lead. And also a bunch of her character is women be shopping. That's a lot of her character as well. So, I don't know. It's tough because there's so much that I really like and then so much that I'm like mid-generic. Momo as well, where Momo's like going on the speech that's really right. She's like, for male sorcerers, you're strong, and that's cool. For female sorcerers, if we're strong, we also have to be pretty. There's expectations placed on us that aren't placed on others. And Mai specifically, with her backstory, has a lot placed on her. Mai's backstory is great because she's a character that's like being forced into this because of Maki's ambitions. And she's like, why couldn't you just stay at the bottom with me? Why couldn't you just be happy with mediocrity and living a normal life? Which I think is perfectly noble of Mai to think. I think that Mai's a really good character. But then, obviously, Maki is right. Obviously, Maki's right in having her ambitions and saying, people said I couldn't do it, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to become the best I can. But it's hard because her doing the best she can is dragging other people into it, which is sad for those other people. So it's like both of them are such great characters, and it's such a nice Shades of Grey storyline where neither character is wrong. They're both right in their own way, and it's just a hard, impossible situation. Like, there's no perfect answer that suits everyone, and I really like the shade of gray there. I think that was it for this section. So yeah, oh yeah, there is more. So Gaku Ganji and him wanting to kill Yuji and everything and explaining it later on. It's so cool how Gaku Ganji is a character who, like, ordinarily it'd be easy to hate. Ordinarily it's like, oh, they want to kill the main character because they don't understand. And it's easy to dislike characters like that, straight up. But for him, you kind of get his reasoning, where people are straight up dying because of Yuji, and very well in the future, many more could die because of him. And what he's saying is, we have rules that everyone has to follow. Just because one individual is special, does that mean that we have to break the rules that everybody else has to follow just for this one special person? So though we as a viewer know that he's wrong, probably, I don't know, things could go a tragic route with Yuji. But while we know that he's probably wrong, I mean, a couple of people have died because of Yuji so far by the end of the season, but we'll get to that later. At the same time, we as a viewer know what a good person Yuji is. So it's like, we can disagree with him, but it's easy to see where Gaku Ganji's coming from. I also really like Kamo Noritoshi, I think is his name. I like Kamo and his character, and especially during the baseball stuff, when he had that scene with Yuji. I think his backstory is very good, but we barely got to see any of him. I hope that his character is handled well, because I'd love to see more of him. And I guess this is something that I haven't brought up yet that works, is kind of one of the best things about the series as a whole, is that instead of expanding the cast too much, the cast is really small. In a lot of series, we'll have things where it's like, take My Hero Academia. There's tons of heroes. There's tons of students at UA, but only the ones we're really focusing on are important. But there's a ton more that exist out there. With this, there aren't a ton more that exist out there. We have a smaller cast, and when new characters get introduced, it means more because of that. And rather than, we don't just kill off Jogo at the beginning, we don't kill off Hanami here, we develop characters. We don't kill off Maito during his intro arc. We develop these characters further so that we can keep reusing these characters, and killing some of them sometime, like with Junpei, is good. But I like that the series maintains a small core cast, and rather than every time a new arc shows up introducing a bunch of new characters, they take the characters they already have and just do a good job of using them. So I hope that Noritoshi's handled well. But yeah, then Hanami shows up. We get into the sort of fight with Hanami against, like, Inumata, I think is his name, and all the other sort of students and everything. All of that's very good. Maki once again being incredibly, incredibly good. And then the main fight, we have, again, I love the way that this fight doesn't over-explain things. We have Todo and we have Yuji, and there are just so many incredible moments, them kicking off each other's feet. Before that, having the sort of wood that Hanami was controlling just disappear, because Todo thought that it was manipulating the wood that was already there, but no, it was just making stuff with its cursed energy that it can just get rid of. Hanami developing as a character and enjoying the fight, though holding back. The reveal that all of this, keeping the putting up the barrier to keep Gojo out, having these fights and everything, was all just a distraction. It wasn't even real. It was just a distraction so that Mahito could go in and steal the fingers, because Geto set up the plan all the way back when he placed the finger with Junpei's mom. Mahito could go in and steal the fingers because, of course, Jujutsu Tech isn't going to want to use the fingers, but they do. And while I'm here at this point, I guess I should mention that I definitely think that that's why Sukuna made the deal with Yuji that he did, where he's like, I'm bringing you back to life, but when I say extension, I get a minute. but I promise not to kill anybody during that minute. Do you know how many fingers he could eat in a minute? That is why I'm assuming he made the deal. If he gets in the presence of those fingers, he could just go, "Hey, Yuji, extension," and just gobble them all down. That is my assumption here. But yeah, the Todo and Yuji fight versus Hanami is incredibly good. It's well choreographed. The writing in it is very, very good. I don't think there's too much else to say other than that it's very, very good. There's so many good small details. Yeah, we get the villains explaining stuff in episode 21. Then episode 21 also goes into the baseball scene, which I think just is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly good. But with that, we move into our final arc. And in the final arc that we get this season, episodes 22, 23, 24, I love Nita, her introduction. She's very funny. I love the Deance type of speaking that she does. I don't know if it's like a sort of like, I hear otaku characters, like stereotypical otaku characters talk like that a lot in anime, or like it sounds almost similar to sometimes how some Gyaru characters can speak. So is she like a former Gyaru, and that's why she has the like blonde hair, but we see the dark roots? Like, I don't know. It's like, is she otaku or is she Gyaru? Who knows? I like the sort of just mystery of them trying to figure out how this curse works and everything. That's very, very good. This arc's best stuff, though, is that it develops the core concepts, the core conflicts within Megumi and Yuji's characters. It develops those. It really gets into Megumi's character of, you know, the difference between sacrificing yourself, like giving your life for something, or risking your life for something. Because giving your life for something and risking your life for something, two very different things, Gojo says, and very true. And also Yuji, the development of him and what it means to kill somebody, because last time he killed those creatures that were asking to be killed, they used to be people, and then here he kills somebody, but he's like, this is a person that somebody cried over. This is a person that somebody mourned. Somebody's going to be sad that I took this life, and that hits even harder. Nobara is nice here, but again, she is a clear third wheel character-wise, which is a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, very good arc. I felt for Eso and Kechizu. Their backstory was very tragic and sad. I thought that them dying was super tragic and sad. Everybody wants to talk about the AMV moment, that dun-dun, it's not right or wrong, it's not right. That, the certified cold rain moment, like, everybody wants to talk about that, but for me, it's Esso's death. It's the sad, somber music when Yuji is killing Eso. That I thought was very good. The direction for that, the direction for the full last episode is just so good. And I guess that takes us to the end. I don't really know if there's much else to say. So yeah, is there anything else to say other than those theories that I mentioned? Yeah, not really. Like I said, I'm going to watch the movie after this. My theories, though, two theories. Again, don't spoil me if I'm right or wrong. A, Sukuna looks like Yuji, not because he's inside of Yuji, but because that's actually what Sukuna looks like, and Yuji is like a descendant of him. Think very much Yusuke and Raizen type. His name was Raizen, right? Think that kind of relationship, kind of. He's a descendant of him. That's maybe what his grandfather was going to tell him regarding his parents and everything, but Yuji didn't give him the chance to. Also, may I mention, I love right at the beginning when his grandfather dies and Yuji wasn't taking it seriously, and he's like, you know, people can die. And while a lot of people are like, well, duh, people can die, a lot of people don't really get that sentiment. I really connected with it because, okay, let me get into some real personal stuff. I was sort of raised by and lived with my grandma till I was 18, and she died when I was 18, and she went into the hospital, and she was there for like a week or two, and then died in the hospital. And when she was in the hospital, I didn't really take it seriously. I was 18, I was dumb, but I had this idea. I'm like, oh, she walked in, she's gonna be fine. She'll get out, everything will go back to normal. So then when she died, like, of course, somebody who I lived with my entire life, and I was only 18. It hit me incredibly hard, but like, I also had that same sort of moment as Yuji, where when she was in the hospital, I was like, she'll be fine. I guess I wasn't really taking it that seriously. And then her dying, it was like, wow, like the first time it's like, wow, a death in your like actual household. It's like, wow, that the people really do die like that. So it's like, while I saw a lot of reactors and stuff, because I've watched like 3 reaction series to this so far, like being like, well, yeah, of course people die. I really, really got what Yuji meant there. But yeah, you know, first theory, got off on a tangent. First theory, yeah, I do think Yuji, descendant of Sukuna, that's why he looks like that. Second theory is about Geto. And Geto is a character. I'm going to play a clip here.
Oh, maybe we should go inside.
But Marge, that little guy hasn't done anything yet. Look at him. He's gonna do something, and you know it's gonna be good.
That's me with Geto as a character. I am like so excited. One of my favorite characters hasn't even done anything. My theory with Geto is, you know, Yusuke's never the only... Yusuke wasn't the only spirit detective. Naruto wasn't the only Jinchuriki. Every time we have a main character, we find out, oh yeah, there are other people who are also special like this. So, my theory, we see the scar on, what's her name? Is it Utahime? I don't know, the teacher, best girl kind of. We see the scar on Toto. All of the scars we see look pretty consistent. But Geto's isn't like that. It's like just a black line. But you know what else are black lines? The eyes under Yuji's eyes because of Sukuna. I think that Suguru Geto, I think is his full name, or Geto Suguru, I think he's like Yuji. I think he's maybe not a host for Sukuna. Maybe that's unique to Yuji, but he's a host for something. Because I could just see them opening up and being eyes or like a mouth or a big eye on his forehead. I think that he is what Yuji is. I think he's a vessel for something. And that isn't a scar across his forehead. That's like eyes or a mouth or something, similar to the eyes that are under Yuji's eyes. That's my theory with him. But again, don't tell me if I'm right or wrong. Right or wrong. Don't tell me if I'm right or wrong on any of this stuff. Either way, hope you enjoyed it. This probably turned into a long video because I love talking about stuff like this. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Like if you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of this chapter. Wow, I am outro brained. I just went straight into autopilot. This chapter, like, comment, subscribe if you want to. Tell me what you thought of this series, what you thought of my thoughts on it and everything. I almost said thoughts and reaction there. I am outro brained. If you want a link to the Discord server, it's free and open for anyone. You just got to ask and I'll give you a link. And if you want to help support the channel, you could drop a super thanks if you want to. You could, yeah, I'll be talking about all these anime as I'm watching them on Discord. We always talk about stuff there. If you want to help support the channel, drop a super thanks if you want. Hit join down below if you want. Go to patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes. Their link will be in the description. Patrons and members get a shout out at the end of every video. They also get One Piece videos a bit early. So huge thank you to people who are patrons and members already. Thank you to Chosen Regular Evan Holly, to Magical Girls, Evernono and Smeller Dog, to Cheerleading Student David Langstaff, Slayer Candidates SG and Stan Cedar, Pure Element Pate Ardialal. Thank you so much. Because this video went on much longer than I even expected, I'm actually going to take a break to rest my voice up a little, then I'll come back and record the characters video. So characters video will be up soon. I talked about them a lot here because I can't help myself. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.